Welcome back to the Data Protection Diaries. Welcome back to the vlog. In today's video, we are starting part one in what is going to be a small series of videos, which will be looking at specifically data breaches, incidents, following an incident from its identification through to the initial investigation, subsequent reporting to the Information Commissioner's Office, and then following through that process of dealing with the Information Commissioner, dealing with the questions, providing responses, and hopefully by the end of this series, bringing that incident to a close and bringing you in on the resolution. First thing to point out about this video is that this is a theoretical example based on a real life incident that we have previously dealt with here at iStorm. We are not going to be talking about the organisation involved. We will not be providing information about the individuals who are involved in the incident, and we will not be providing any detail. What this is a look at the process, a look at how an investigation is carried out, and a look at how the dealings with the ICO work out over the period of time. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please make sure that you do. These videos will come up when they're released. Also, if you click the little notification bell, you'll get a notification through YouTube to tell you when the next video in this series goes live. Now, that's enough of the kind of introduction. Let's get into part one of dealing with an incident. The incident occurred in an organisation that deals with particularly sensitive information. They have a lot of data about a variety of individuals. Some of those individuals are vulnerable, some of them not, some of them young, some of them old. They provide a critical and important service, and it's a private sector organisation. The other important thing to point out here is that in general, the particular organisation has a very, very good culture of compliance. They have a good, clear understanding within the organisation of what needs to be done, of the information that they use, and they work very closely with lots of different agencies to ensure that the services that they provide are provided in the securest and safest possible ways. The incident that occurred starts off relatively simple. So in the normal course of a working day, in the course of normal practices, information was being recalled from a database. This database, CRM, customer management system, whatever you may want to call it, is used to collate information about the individuals who are using this particular service. On the day in question, a referral, some information was requested about a particular service user. That information was going to be passed to a number of other third-party agencies to aid in the progression of this particular case. The information was downloaded as per the usual process within the organisation. The information was packaged up, placed into an email and sent out. The first indication that something had gone wrong was a reply to the original email stating that the information had been received by a third party and they had received it in error. This email went back to the team that had initiated the email in the first place, and at this point the incident was raised and the investigation was begun. As the DPO, so as the outsourced data protection team, we were advised by the organisation that an incident had occurred. This caused us to ask a number of questions before we even started getting things moving. The first of those being, of course, do we have an understanding of the information that was shared? Do we have an understanding of the content and the sensitivity of that information? Have any steps been taken to stop the incident from progressing any further? So has contact been made with the individual who has received the information? And is there a team in place to start investigating what's happened and how this is going to be dealt with? Initial investigations in these kind of cases usually take place anywhere from the first couple of hours up to the first 1 or 2 days. It's absolutely vital at this point that we find out as much information as we possibly can about the information that has been sent, the context of that information, how sensitive it is, and in particular, whether or not the release of that information has the potential to cause any harm or cause any damage to the individuals to whom it relates. In this particular instance, some information was provided to a range of third parties. Many of these third parties would usually receive information of this nature because they are associated with the sending organisation. They are partner agencies delivering additional and peripheral services. One of the individuals that received this information is not normally party to this information, and we'll call them Joe Public. Joe Public received the information, raised a concern that the information had been sent to them, which then triggered the subsequent investigation. The investigation identified that the information that had been provided actually contained multiple reports or multiple referrals about a number of different individuals. The total of those individuals was later identified to be 4. We took the time to set up meetings with the organisation and start asking questions about the content of the information that was provided. Who's it about? What kind of detail does that information contain? How sensitive is it? And then we can look at potentially the risk of harm to the individuals of who this information is about. During the investigation, it transpired that some of this information would be deemed to be incredibly sensitive, and potentially the release of this information could cause quite significant harm or distress to at least some of the individuals involved. Now, by this time, a process had already been initiated to recall for the email itself and ask for the deletion of the email from the individual who had received it in error. So that process had already begun. What was now also becoming apparent was that because of the nature of the information contained, the potential for there to be harm or distress caused to the individual, that this incident would in fact need to be reported to the ICO. And so steps were now taken to look at what that means, what information we're going to have to provide, and how that information is going to be packaged up. It became clear during the internal investigation that this was a case of simple human error. A report had been run or a search had been requested on the records management system, on the CRM. That report had drawn down a number of individuals' details because of the way the search criteria was run. Ordinarily, a search criteria would be run using a unique identifier, so a string of numbers, string of letters that relates to a specific file and is unique to that file, or it would be run against a full name, so first name, surname, for instance. Unfortunately, on this occasion, the search was carried out outside of the normal documented process, and the search was carried out using initial and surname. A search of this nature obviously recalled more information than the individual was expecting to see. Unfortunately, at this point, again outside of the normal standard processes, the report was not fully reviewed by the individual before it was attached to the email. There was no malice, there was no intent to cause harm, but what has inadvertently happened is that by skipping out parts of the process, the information has now been packaged up and sent out to individuals who ordinarily wouldn't have had to see it. As many of you watching this video will be aware, Once an incident has been defined as reportable to the Information Commissioner's Office, we have 72 hours from the point from which we were informed there was an incident to file that report. At this stage, we started to collate all of the information that we had relating to the incident. What happened, when, how did it happen, what remedial activities have we already undertaken to try and reduce any risk or harm to the individuals, and what are we going to do to try and stop this incident from happening moving forwards. Once this information had been pulled together, we then decided that it was time to file an official report with the Information Commissioner's Office. This is going to be a short series of videos. So in the next video, we are going to look at the ICO reporting process, so how to report an incident, the steps that we took to provide the required information to the Information Commissioner's Office, and what the outcome or the initial outcome of that report was. If you are not subscribed to the channel and you do want to know what happens in part 2, please do make sure that you subscribe. Hit that notification bell as well to be informed when the next video comes out, and comment down below. Have you dealt with an incident of this kind of nature? Would you have felt the incident was reportable? Have you had any dealings with the Information Commissioner's Office? What do you think is going to happen next? But whatever you do, please do make sure that you come back next Wednesday and we'll be ready with you for part 2. Thanks very much.